This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning, Rabbi Isai. This is the last time we meet in Tavshin Ayin Zayin. Baruch Hashem. Hashem gave us the health and the life to be together for this year, and we hope B'siyata D'Shmaya we should be together, Gesundheit, for the upcoming year and for many years to come. So the Chayei Adam tells us something about tomorrow. Tomorrow, of course, is the last day of the year, Erev Rosh Hashanah.
My birthday.
Rabbi Yankel Beilish's birthday also. And there's something very important and significant about Erev Rosh Hashanah, and that is, says the Chayei Adam, Erev Rosh Hashanah, hu yom ha'achroin min Hashanah. Erev Rosh Hashanah is the last day of the year. And Chazal have a tradition that if somebody does tshuva one day in the year, it's considered like they did tshuva the whole year. Wow. So, even if a person was lax the rest of the year, but if we take advantage of the last day of the year, it will be considered as if we did tshuva the whole year. Olachein noagu, therefore the custom is shekulam mesanin, everyone fasts. Umashkimim, harbe, and they get up very early, koydem hayoim, before the day. Umarbim b'slichais, and they say a lot of slichais. Ubeviduyim, and they say vidoy. And therefore, the Chayei Adam is telling us the custom is everyone fasts and gets up really early. Well, then the Chayei Adam continues, V'chol hayom yasik b'Torah v'mitzvah, a person should be learning Torah, involved in mitzvahs the whole day. V'roi l'chol adam litval b'mikvah b'nahar, it is worthwhile to immerse in a mikvah or a river. But one should not be toivel earlier than an hour before chatzos. And should not divert their attention from tshuva the whole day. So the Chayei Adam is teaching us that Erev Rosh Hashanah is a very important day, especially in light of the fact that if you do tshuva one day of the year, it's like you did tshuva the whole year. Okay, but the Torah explains what exactly is the significance of Erev Rosh Hashanah. I mean, if doing tshuva one day a year is like doing tshuva the whole year, you could really do tshuva any day. Why dafka Erev Rosh Hashanah? And the Torah really heightens to us our appreciation of Erev Rosh Hashanah. The Torah says the following: Noyagin ba'Ashkenaz, the minhag in Germany is l'sanois kulam b'Erev Rosh Hashanah, for everyone to fast on Erev Rosh Hashanah. V'samach lazeh, and they rely on, meaning a smach to this, a hint to this, is Medrash Rabbi Tanchuma. A Medrash Tanchuma, it says about the Yom Kipp of Sukkos, you should take for yourself on the first day, and the question is, it's not the first day. When you take the Lulav and Esrog, it's the 15th day of Tishrei. What do you mean you should take the first day? It says the Medrash, V'chi rishon hu v'aloi tesvavhu, ela rishon l'cheshboin avoynois. It's the first day of the calculation of sin. Says the Medrash, Mashal L'Medina, it's a parable to a country, Shechayeves Mas Lamelech, that is obligated to pay a tax to the king. V'loi nitnulai, and they didn't pay it. So what happens? Bo'ile b'chayel, l'gavoisai, the king comes with an army to collect it. Kishin eskare ve'leha, as the king approaches, ba'asar parsais, 10 parsa within the city, yatsu gedoyle amdina l'krasai, the prestigious people of the city, the honorable people, the leaders of the city approach the king, and they tell the king, we don't have what to give to you. So the king overlooks a third of the tax. The king comes closer. The average people come out to greet him. The king overlooks the second third. When the king gets closer, Yatsu kol b'nei ha'ir l'krasai, the whole city comes out to greet him. V'niach lahem hakol, and the king overlooks everything. Kach hamelach, who's the king? Zeh HaKadosh Baruch Hu. B'nei HaMedina, who are the people? Elu Yisrael Mesaglim Avonos Kol Shana. They amass sin the whole year. Erev Rosh Hashanah Hagadoyla Mesanin. Erev Rosh Hashanah, the great people fast. Umavato lahem shlish avanosayim. And the king overlooks a third of their sin. B'yud yamim beinonim mesanin. The 10 days The average people fast. Umavater lahem beish shlishim, and the king overlooks 2/3. B'yom HaKippurim hakol masani. Yom Kippur, everyone fasts. Umavater lahem hakol. Comes Matzah Yom HaKippurim, and they're involved in mitzvahs, in sukkah, in lulav, and they don't do avonos. Therefore, the first day of Sukkot is called Rishayin L'Cheshbain Avonos. The first day God could calculate sin, because since by the time Yom Kippur comes, all has been forgiven, and in the intermediary days between Yom Kippur and Sukkot, there's no time to sin. Therefore, the first opportunity to sin is the first day of Sukkot. Marv Rabbi said there are a lot of questions on this medrash. Number one, the Beis Yosef. The Beis Yosef asks, according to this then, Erev Rosh Hashanah is equal to Yom Kippurim, because Yom Kippur Hashem forgives 1/3, and Erev Rosh Hashanah Hashem forgives 1/3. And that's quite a whopper of a chiddush to say that Erev Rosh Hashanah is just as powerful as Yom Kippur, especially in light of the fact that the Torah doesn't say a word about Erev Rosh Hashanah, and Yom Kippur is the Yom Slicha, Umachila v'Chapara. How could it be that one day of Erev Rosh Hashanah is equal to the entire Aser Simei Tshuva, to the entire Yom Kippur, where on Erev Rosh Hashanah an entire 1/3 is forgiven? Well, says the Beis Yosef, to answer that question, the first 1/3 is always easier than the second and the third 1/3. The first 1/3 is the easiest. The first 1/3 of sin is the easiest to forgive. Okay, interesting. Maybe we could explain with a very simple, oversimplified mashal. We've been learning from the Shari Tshuva that there are many levels of tshuva, and tshuva is like a process of whitening. So if you get the cholent on your shirt, so the first step is get the bean off, get the kishka off. The next step is you take a wet shmata with hot water and you try to get out the stain, and then whatever doesn't come out, that's the tough part. You got to put in the washing machine with bleach and detergent and maybe send it to the cleaners. So Rabbi said the first step is always the easiest. You just take it off your shirt. So that's always the easiest part of it. But that's what the Beis Yosef says. The first 1/3 is the easiest, and therefore Erev Rosh Hashanah is not as great as Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur obviously is much greater, but the first 1/3 is very easy. But comes the Taz, and the Taz asks also a very incisive question and an obvious question. And that is, if Hashem wipes out the first 1/3 on Erev Rosh Hashanah, then it says Hashem wipes out 2/3. What do you mean during Aser Simei Tshuva Hashem wipes out 2/3? He only wipes out 1/3. What does it mean during Aser Simei Tshuva? It says B'yud Yomim Beinonim Mesanin Umavatel Beish Shlishim. God overlooks 2/3. He doesn't overlook 2/3. He overlooks 1/3. Because the first 1/3 he already overlooked. And then what does it mean Hashem overlooks everything on Yom Kippur? There's nothing left on Yom Kippur. The first 1/3 is Erev Rosh Hashanah, 2/3 Aser Simei Tshuva. Comes Yom Kippur, there's no point of even fasting. I mean, according to the Torah, let's call off Yom Kippur.
Right. Well, maybe it's 2/3 of what was left after the first 1/3 was taken off.
So first 1/3, and then 2/3 of what's left?
So then you still got something.
That's a very complex mathematical formula. Why would that be? That means basically Yom Kippur is the most insignificant of all 3 days of tshuva.
But the Medrash also says that the first 1/3 Hashem is mavater because the tzaddikim are misaninim.
Right.
We don't have that, so maybe we don't go in with that 1/3. So
but the Medrash, what does the Medrash mean? The Medrash says on Erev Rosh Hashanah Hashem overlooks 1/3, and the second one he overlooks 2/3. I thought only 1/3. And as we're going to see, there's another major question over here, and that is just how do you read the Torah? The Torah says the minhag in Ashkenaz is for who to fast? Kulam ber, everyone fasts Erev Rosh Hashanah. And then the Torah says, like the Medrash says, that just like when the king is approaching to collect the tax, first the Gedolim go out to greet the king, and likewise, Erev Rosh Hashanah, the Gedolim Mesanin. Well, if the Medrash says clearly the Gedolim are Mesanin, Erev Rosh Hashanah, why does the Torah say that everybody fasts on Erev Rosh Hashanah? The Medrash says only the Gedolim fast. We're going to have to address that question as well. Well, the Taz says as follows. When the Medrash says that on Erev Rosh Hashanah, Hashem is Mavater 1/3, He's not Moichel 1/3. he's mavater a third. What does it mean he's mavater a third? He, so to speak, puts it on the side, says, okay, we'll deal with it later. I'm going to give you a break. I'm going to give you... hopefully you'll be able to remove that later, but for now, I'm going to overlook that for now. Temporary reprieve. Basically, you're out on bail. Deferring, exactly. The first third is deferred. Then comes the Erev Rosh Hashanah, and you could say, then comes Asesi Tshuva, the second third is deferred. Maybe that would answer the Beis Yosef's question as well. Maybe 2/3 are deferred, and now everything is deferred. But you're going to still have to pay the price for everything. Comes Yom Kippur, and everything is nimchal legamri. Everything is completely washed away. Meaning what happens on Yom Kippur is it's not deferred, it's not pushed off, it's not stalled. But the einam nimchalam legamri ad sheyom kippurim nechshavim gam habeish shlishim rishonim im hashlisha achroin. It's not nimchal legamri until Yom Kippur. We count the first 2/3 with the final third. And now maybe you'll say, well, on Yom Kippur also, as the Taz asked, that, again, what was the question of the Taz? That if Hashem is Mavater, the 2/3, so there's nothing left on Yom Kippur, so therefore the Medrash points out that no. Maybe you'll say that, yeah, Hashem defers the first third. Then Hashem defers the 2/3. Maybe they're never nimchal. Maybe it's always a process of being deferred. No, therefore comes the Medrash and it says the first day of Sukkot is Rishon Hu Lachem. It's the first day for you, meaning Ulakachtem Lachem Bayom HaRishon. You should take on the first day. What do you mean on the first day? Rishon Lecheshboin Avonos. The first day of Sukkot is the beginning of calculation, meaning it's not Nimchal Legamri until Yom Kippur, but once Yom Kippur comes, it's completely wiped away, and there's no reckoning until the first day of Sukkot.
So what's the purpose of the deferral?
Because if it's not...
Is it meaningful in any way?
Yeah, it's very meaningful. First of all, we would never reach the level of complete forgiveness unless we are able to defer it to some extent, and it gives us an opportunity to daven. Otherwise, to stand before God with that really looming over you, we would never have that opportunity. So just in order to be able to daven in front of Hashem, we need the averos to be deferred. But from this Taz, we see a very interesting process that a person could gain vitur without mechila. So interestingly, there's a tshuva in the Tzitz Eliezer in Chelek Tezvav, Siman Samach Gimel, where the Tzitz Eliezer says that based on this Taz, we could explain a difficult Rashi. Rashi tells us that Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Har Sinai another 2 times. After the first 40 days, when he went up to get the Torah, and then he came down and he saw Klal Yisrael made the Egel, he went up another 2 sets of 40 days. And Rashi points out, what was the difference between the first set of 40 and the last set of 40? The Pasuk says in Ekev, in Perek Tes, Pasuk Yud Ches, V'esna ba'alefnei Hashem karishayna, I daven before Hashem like in the beginning, Arboim yoim v'arboim laila, 40 days and 40 nights, lechem lo yachalti, umayim lo yishasisi, al kol chataschem asher chatasem, says Rashi, Shenemar v'yata ela el Hashem bulay achapra v'oisa aliyah. During that ascent, Nisakavti arboim yoim, I waited there 40 days. Nimtzu kolam mechav tes ba'av. The second, meaning the intermediary period of 40 days, ended on the 29th day of Av, because he went up Yud Ches Tammuz. Boy b'yayim, on that day, Nisratze HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael, Hashem was a peace to Klal Yisrael. V'yamar l'Moshe p'sol lecha shnei luchos. So what did he do? Asa oid mem yom. He did another 40 days. Nimtzu kolim b'yayim HaKippurim. They ended on Yom Kippur. Boy b'yayim, on that day, Nisratza HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael b'simcha. Hashem was appeased by Klal Yisrael with joy. Now listen carefully. That means he came down after the first 40 days, Yud Zayin Tammuz, he saw they broke the luchos. He goes up again, Yud Ches Tammuz, and that 40-day period ended on the 29th day of Av. which means on the 29th day of Av, Hashem was nisratza to Klal Yisrael. So of what significance was the final 30 days where he went up Rosh Chodesh Elul and came down on Yom Kippur and Hashem was nisratza to them? What do you mean he already was nisratza to them on Chaf Tes Av? Why do we need 2 additional periods of 40 days? So it says that Tzitz Eliezer, based on this Taz, we could explain that there are two levels of atonement. After Chaf Tes Av, when we say HaKadosh Baruch Hu was nisratza to them, he was only nisratza as a havara, as a tinai, as a deferment. However, he did not grant complete kapara b'simcha until Yom Kippur. In other words, what Yom Kippur added was it was not only havara ba'alma, removal, temporary removal out on bail, but it was complete forgiveness. Marva Rabboisai, with this we could explain another very important concept, and that is the Medrash Tanchuma tells us in Parshas Nasai, a very interesting yisoid, and that yisoid is Goyim cannot do tshuva. Only a yid could do tshuva. A goy cannot do tshuva. It says, Yisa Hashem panav elecha, elecha v'loi la'oved kochavim. What about it? Good question. So Mr. Caro ate his Wheaties this morning, and he's making it like it's not a big question. It's a very big question. Why if Goyim can't do tshuva, so what's the whole Sefer of Yaina? There's something called the Trei Asar, and one of the Trei Asar is Sefer Yaina, and the whole book is about Yaina is told, go tell the people to do tshuva, and it seems like they did tshuva, and they were saved.
No,
so
it's just deferred. Hashem didn't give them complete exoneration.
So first of all, why is it that Goyim are not able to do tshuva? So the Chida brings down from the Ramah Mipano that the way tshuva works is you need mechila. Now the Rebbeinu Shalom's relationship with the Umayis Ha'olam is the relationship of a melech. So he's their king. Melech shemachal al kevoidoi ein kevoidoi machal. So therefore, Goyim are not able to do tshuva because God cannot forgive them. However, our relationship with Hashem is that of father and son. Av shemachal al kevoidoi, kevoidoi machal. But the question is, what in the world happened in Nineveh? How could they have done tshuva? And says the Chida, they didn't. They're not able to do tshuva. And ultimately, they were not able to wipe away their Aveira. Says the Chida, that tshuvasam, the hagoyim ein lohem tshuva, the gam sheyashuvu midarkam hara, tshuvasam nishar, me'al, ugzero imedasu masam. By Goyim, their sin always looms, and the decree stands against them. Only Lizman. It was only temporarily. So you'll say, what do you mean only temporarily? They were about to be destroyed, and then Hashem didn't destroy them. It seemed like it worked. So I remind you of the Malbim in Sefer Yaina. If you remember, Yaina tells the people of Nineveh, Oid arbaim yoim v'ninveh nepaches. Well, says the Malbim, Oid is Gematria 80, Arbaim is 40, and in fact, in 120 years later, Nineveh was destroyed. Oid arbaim yoim could also mean a year. Ay, tshuva! Goyim can't do tshuva. So what did they do? Deferral. So Rabbi Yosef got it. What? 120 years is 120 years. I mean, there are probably people who lived much longer.
Who actually were...
it's not tshuva. It's not tshuva.
Sin, so they lived out their lives, and the next generation...
It's It's temporarily overlooking the wrongdoing and giving some patience to what happened. Okay.
Is it called tshuva if you do tshuva but it's not accepted? Is that you're still doing tshuva?
If you do tshuva, it will be accepted.
Automatically, without reservation.
If you do tshuva, it will be accepted.
Real tshuva.
That's your real truth, not if you go through the motions.
Why can't the
we said because melech shemachal al kvoidai ein kvoidai machal. Says, so now here's the question. Question is, the Torah starts out that the minhag in Ashkenaz is everyone fasts Erev Rosh Hashanah, and the mashal the Torah gives is when the king comes to collect the taxes, the Gedolim fast. So it's like Eino Doimeh, the Raya is not Doimeh to the Halacha. So this is the question of the Beis Yosef himself. The Afagav, look at number 10. Did the Medrash Ka'amar, did the Erev Rosh Hashanah Gedolim Esanim, even though in the Medrash we say that on Erev Rosh Hashanah the Gedolim fast, but that means not everybody fasts. Noagu ba'Ashkenaz l'sanes kulam. The minhag in Ashkenaz is for everyone to fast. Why? Because this is a very interesting idea. When we say that Gedolim should do something, is anyone allowed to do it usually? No. What would it be called if an average person does something which is reserved for Gedolim? It's arrogant, it's yuhara, it's gaivadik. This is not for a regular person. This is for someone of a greater standing. So says the Beis Yosef, the concept that when something is for Gedolim, other people should not do it, that's just a regular practice. But when it comes to paining oneself and afflicting oneself and making yourself bitzar, then anybody who wants to compromise their comfort is allowed to do it. It's not considered gaivadik to sort of compromise your own comfort. If it's a matter of, let's say, taking a kibud, an honor, or doing a practice which is extra religious, so then we say, no, this is not for you. This is only for great people. However, if it's a matter of tsar, anyone, says the Beis Yosef, is allowed to put themselves bitzar. Interestingly, the Magen Avram asks on the Beis Yosef that if this is the case, this is a stira in the Beis Yosef himself, because the Shulchan Aruch paskins in Siman Tav Kuf Ayin Hey that if the tzibur is in tsar, that not everyone is allowed to fast, only the Gedolim are allowed to fast. So why, when it comes to Erev Rosh Hashanah, does the Beis Yosef say everyone could fast? Because this is not gaivadik, because this is a matter of paining oneself. But when we talk about when the tzibur is bitzar, there we only allow the Gedolim to fast. So the Magen Avram differentiates between the two inyanim. Over there we're talking about when the tzibur is bitzar. So you're fasting to ask for mercy on the tzibur. Who are you to request mercy for the tzibur? What, you're a big Talmid Chacham? You're just an average person. We don't let you fast. Ma'ashein kein Erev Rosh Hashanah, what are you fasting for? You're fasting for yourself, for your own chatoim. So everybody has the right to say, even if I'm not a great person, I'm authorized to fast to try to get out as many of my chatam as I would like. Marv Rabbi, this question on the tour, that why would the tour start off by saying Noyagim lehasanais kulam be'erev Rosh Hashanah, and then bring a raya from a story where only the Gedolim fast? This question is addressed by the Chassam Sofer in at least 5 different places, where the Chassam Sofer gives at least 5 different answers to this question of why would the Torah begin that Noagu ba'Ashkenaz l'Hasanos kulam, and then end off with a mashal where only some of the people fast.
Why do you have to come up with 5 different answers? You wasn't happy with the first one.
Why? Because 5 is always better than 4. Well, according to the Torah, it's the whole day. Even today in the yeshivas, many Talmidim fast half a day, till chatzos. But the original custom doesn't say it half a day. It's at least most of the day, until right before the end. Sfardim are also Jewish people. Do they fast on Erev Rosh Hashanah? I don't know what they do. I don't know. So again, the question is, why would the Torah say Nagu l'sanes kulam if in the mashal only some of the people fast? Not only that, says Chassam Sofer, not only does everyone fast, even children fast on Erev Rosh Hashanah. So here the Torah is saying Nagu l'sanes kulam, and kulam bizmanenu means even the tinoikos, and in the Torah only the gedolim. Answer number 1. Take a look at number 12. This is the first answer of Chassam Sofer in the Drashos Chassam Sofer, page Shin Daled Mem. Well, says the Chassam Sofer, in the early days, we knew who the Gedolim were, we knew who the mediocre people were, and we know who the little people were. Meaning, in the olden days, people wore name cards. Some people would say, Shalom Aleichem, my name is Yankel Ploini, I'm a Gadol. And then other people would wear name cards. They'd say, my name is Beryl, I'm a regular person. And then other people would wear, Shalom Aleichem, I'm Feivel, I'm a nobody. Just joking. They wouldn't actually wear name cards, but it was known. The social standing, the spiritual standing of a person was recognizable, even though Hanistarois Lashem Lekenu, who could really know who's a Gadol and who's a Katan? But back in the day, when people were more legitimate and more sincere, you knew what was what. But Bavanoseinu Harabim, the Talmidei Chachamim are sometimes nobodies. And the nobodies are sometimes somebodies. And the average people could either be nobodies or somebodies. And you know what? It depends on the day. Today, this Talmid Chacham is a nobody. Tomorrow, that Talmid Chacham is a Gadol. It depends on the hour. It depends on the minute. Nobody knows anything about anybody. Therefore, it's not gaivadik for anybody to fast because there's such confusion and lack of ability for anybody to know where anybody stands that Bizman Hazeh, everyone has the right to fast. Only Gedolim should fast. Well, we don't know who they are. So Hashem will decide, hopefully, if everyone fasts, then we'll end up being the Gedolim will be fasting. But if we don't have everyone fasting, we're going to be in trouble if only the people who we think are Gedolim fast and the regular people don't. That's the first answer of the Chassam Sofer. Answer number 2. It used to be there were a lot of Gedolim. And therefore, if they would fast, that was a big honor to the king, and he thereby would overlook a third of the Averos. However, B'amnaseinu Harabim, B'nei Aliyah Muatim, there are very few people who qualify for that character, for that status. Very doubtful you'll even have a minion, says the Chassam Sofer. Very doubtful you even have a minion, even in the time of the Chassam Sofer. And therefore, Bizman Hazeh, in order to get the king to be appeased, it doesn't work anymore just to have the Gedolim. Everyone's going to have to fast. And says Chassam Sofer, you could even read this into the psukim of the Slichos. We say like this: Tzedek u'mishpat mechain kisecha, Tzedek u'mishpat mechain kisecha, Chesed ve'emes kadmu vanecha, asher yachtav namtik soid, beveis Elokim nalech beragesh. So we read like this: when it was tzedek u'mishpat mechain kisecha, then what was appropriate would be chesed ve'emes yikadmu fanecha, that the great people will fast and honor you. But why is it yachtav namtik soiv? Why nowadays everyone's fasting? Because beveis Elokim nalech beragesh. Because what could we do? Nebuch, we don't have the same quantity of Talmidei Chachamim that once were. Okay, that's answer number 2. Answer number 3. Says the Heilige Chassam Sofer on page Shin Samach Daled in the Drashas Chassam Sofer. When Moshe Rabbeinu is told to address Klal Yisrael, he tells them, V'atem tihiyu li mamleches kohanim v'goy kadosh. Eile hadvarim asher diber el bnei Yisrael. Say these words. And Rashi says, Lo pachos v'lo yoser. Not less and not more. What does that mean, not less and not more? So Chassam Sofer says like this. It doesn't mean don't add more words or subtract more words. It means the level of Mamlechas Kohanim V'Goy Kadosh is the highest possible level that any entity could reach. Even angels cannot reach that level. To be a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. Loi Pachos means there's no one too low, even a regular person, even the lowest person, is always able to attain that level. Meaning, there's no higher level, and no one is too low from attaining that level. Therefore, in Erev Rosh Hashanah, yes, only the Gedolim go out to the king. So listen carefully. Says Chassam Sofer, only the Gedolim fast on Erev Rosh Hashanah. But someone who's not a Gadol should look at that Gadol and say, why am I not a Gadol? I could have been a Gadol. No, I couldn't have. I was born into this family or in this place and this time, I could never have been a gadol. No, it's not true. Anyone could be a gadol. Could have been a gadol. Should be a gadol. So either you fast because you're a gadol, or you fast because you're not a gadol. Why aren't you a gadol? That's why everyone fasts on Erev Rosh Hashanah. Either because the gedolim fast, or because if you're not a gadol and you're not fasting, you should be fasting that you're not a gadol.
We should just say kulam and not even talk about gedolim. It doesn't matter.
So that's the idea. Like they said the Sfas Emes. Somebody once went to Sfas Emes. What should I do if I can't cry on Tisha B'Av? So Sfas Emes says, cry that you're not able to cry. So too, who should fast on Erev Rosh Hashanah? The big people. And what about me? I'm not a big person. I should cry that I'm not a big person.
And you should fast because you're not a big person.
I should fast because I didn't make it to be a big person. Fine. Next answer, L'chsam Sofer. Apparently this tour really occupied the attention of L'chsam Sofer. So L'chsam Sofer says on page Shin Nun Aleph, why does everyone fast? Why not only the Gedolim? Question. Says L'chsam Sofer, in the mashal, why does a third of the people, the big people, come out first, 10 parsa away, then the average people come when the king is closer, and then everyone comes when the king's in the city? The mashal should be, when the king is coming with an army to collect the taxes, everyone should come out immediately to appease the king, so it doesn't have to come to the fact that the king is right by the city.
Yeah, but then if he doesn't do it, you're stuck because you can't do any.
You get no fallback.
Right, you can't impress him anymore.
Well, Chassam Sofer says the real answer is
Not a good negotiating strategy.
the answer of Chassam Sofer is, of course you should do that. The thing is, in the case of the king, apparently, the regular people and the small people, they're dismissing the whole event. And they're saying, the king will never come, it will never happen. He'll overlook the taxes, I never pay taxes, I never got caught. They ignore the whole thing. So therefore, the smart people go out and they understand that the king is coming. And then when the king gets closer, the average people start to sweat. And when the king's standing at the door, everybody's sweating. It's the same thing Yom Naram. Who's preparing themselves, Elul and Erev Rosh Hashanah? It's the people that have more of a feel for the Torah, people that have more Yiras Shamayim. So they're approaching the king and they're worried about what's going to happen. Everybody else, they either wake up Asar Simei Tshuva or they wake up Erev Rosh Hashanah. But of course, it's much better if you wake up Erev Rosh Hashanah, just like in the case of the king. It would have been much better if everybody came out to greet the king initially when he was far away. So too, of course, it's better if everyone comes out in Erev Rosh Hashanah. It's just the reality is that most people don't feel it. But therefore, the custom is for everyone to go out Erev Rosh Hashanah in order to try to do things in the best possible oifen. So that is the fourth approach of the Chassam Sofer. And here's the fifth approach. Says the Chassam Sofer, what does it mean that the first day of Sukkot is Rishon L'Cheshbon Avonos? It means like this, that if a person does Tshuva Meira, then basically the Avera is downgraded from Mezid to Shoigig, and so on and so forth. Because some Sofer wants to know, what's this business that a third? Why this, many-stepped program? Well, it says Chassam Sofer, if you do Tshuva Meira, then we're going to have to start counting, you did Tshuva Meira, so it's downgraded from Mezid to Shoigig. And then if you do Tshuva Meira more, it's downgraded more. So the process is a many-step process. But if you do Tshuva Me'ava, where it turns into mitzvahs, there's no cheshbon at all. Because everybody is equal, because everybody's averos are transformed into mitzvahs. Says Chassam Sofer, when we say the Gedolim go out Erev Rosh Hashanah and Hashem overlooks a third, that's talking about most of the time when people do Tshuva Meira. So therefore the Avera is downgraded, and therefore there's something left. and it has to be taken away more, so you made tshuva, and more on Yom Kippur. But if you do tshuva me'ava, and the averos are turned into mitzvahs, we're not asking vitur, the whole averos are turned into mitzvahs. Then everyone could come together, and there's no difference between gedolim and beinonim and so on and so forth. Says the Chassam Sofer, the fact that everybody approaches Hashem on Erev Rosh Hashanah to fast, that's an indication that what we're trying to do is tshuva me'ava and not tshuva me'ira. Let's end with the following. Why in thirds?
I should have a Suda.
Should have a Suda?
Yeah, what fast?
No, that would reduce the level of concentration and conviction to do the tshuva. You're going to have hesach das. We said before that you can't have hesach das when you tshuva the whole day. You're going to go stuff yourself, but you're going to lose hesach das.
Okay, let me share with you one last segment over here. Rav Shlomo Kluger in his drashos explains something very interesting. Why thirds? Why a first third, a second third, a third third? Why is it broken up into thirds? He says something quite amazing. Every Avera has three parts. Mezid turns to Shoigeg. Shoigeg is forgiven. And finally, it's turned into Zechuyais. Well, therefore, Erev Rosh Hashanah, when the Mezid is downgraded to Shoigeg. Aseres Yemei Tshuva, the Shoigeg is forgiven. Yom Kippur, we become Kibarya Chadasha, and the Averos are turned into mitzvahs. Very interesting. Comes the Yeshuas Yaakov, and Rav Yaakov Orenstein, the author of the Chidusha Yeshuas Yaakov on Shulchan Aruch, and he says a very interesting thing. He says, wait a second, there's one last thing over here. What else is over here? What else are we missing? It says that Sukkot is Rishain L'Cheshbain Avaynais. Rishain L'Cheshbain. What's that word Cheshbain? The Vilna Gaon teaches us on the Chazal that says Oilanu miyom hadin, Oilanu miyom atechecha. Asid litain din v'cheshbain. Din and cheshbain. What's din and what's cheshbain? Says the Vilna Gaon. Very powerful. Din is you spoke lashon hara, zap. You wore shatnez, zap. You screamed at someone, we're gonna nail you. So now I did tshuva, so I'm off the hook. No, you're not off the hook. Cheshbain. Cheshbain is fine. You spoke lashon hara, you're off the hook. But instead of speaking lashon hara, you should have been learning. You should have been doing mitzvahs. So din is for the aveira, and cheshbain is you should have been doing a mitzvah. For example, the Chavetz Chaim says when you speak lashon hara, you're over bittul Torah. Over bittul Torah, yeah, because instead of speaking lashon hara, you should have been learning. So one is an aveira for speaking lashon hara, and two is an aveira for not learning. So you could get atonement for the sin, but you still got off the din, but you didn't get off the cheshbain. So says the Yeshuas Yaakov like this. Erev Rosh Hashanah, Mezid turns into Shoigeg. Aseres Yemei Tshuva, Shoigeg disappears. Yom Kippur, maybe the Aveira itself turns into a mitzvah, but you're still missing something. You know what you're missing? You could have been doing a mitzvah during that time, and you're going to be punished for not doing a mitzvah during that time. Comes the Yom Tov of Sukkot, and what do we do on Sukkot? We do mitzvahs besimcha. When you do mitzvahs besimcha, that gets you off the hook for not having done mitzvahs at the time that you were doing the averos. What is that called? You get off the hook? Cheshbain. Therefore, the first day of Sukkot is Rishain L'Cheshbain Avaynais.
We're still doing mitzvahs.
No, in other words, all the averos that you did throughout the year, that you're being punished for,
the past one.
you could have been doing mitzvahs during that time, and you're accountable for that. Therefore, the first day of Sukkot, and throughout Sukkot, when we do mitzvahs b'simcha, that gets us off the hook for cheshbain. What's cheshbain? According to Vilna Gaon, cheshbain is during the time that a person was doing averos that they could have been doing mitzvahs, they're liable for cheshbain. Okay, Mor Rabbi Sai, but the upshot here is that Erev Rosh Hashanah is a very significant day on the calendar, and in some level and in some way, it gets off a third. What the significance of this third is, this is what we learned about today, but we should be zoicha to take advantage of the last day of the year, Erev Rosh Hashanah. We should be zoicha to take advantage of Aseres Yemei Tshuva, in Yom Kippur and Sukkot, and Hashem should be mevarich all of you with a year of good health, gezint, parnasa, b'mali Hashem kol mishales libchem l'tayva.
Amen.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.